yalla ni mano wara demen jona biro ngay tawle ngata ko do kama demen man façon fula wala beje kilo talul tabeje kilo monni lul tabeje hani duli no beje ni tale ko do kama ni lefta ko do les ko do ta inaita nadi ate fone si mano le sanjani tulol ni hani ñi fongo ñi alkawme tuwabul kawme fo kan dirin klebe ñi lemna to ngabo ndeje
yuna la kanyunu be samana
etu la kanyunu be samana yaje
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm in London that can help you with all aspects of your legal work. If you are looking at immigrating to the United Kingdom, Stewart & Co. can help you to set up business, buy houses in the UK, and will deal with all your legal works from start to finish.
For all your general immigration work, we can help you with that as well. If you're applying for any form of visa, whether student visas, settlement visas, marriage visas, or a child wanting to come to the United Kingdom to settle with the family, we can help you to achieve your goals.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm specializing in conveyancing, immigration, litigation, family law, personal injury, licensing, no win, no fee. Contact us today at www.sk-solicitors.com.
yaran yilla domoro kadiyata
boy jannon sikes restaurant
sa nakko be ninna dimbal nimbe domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domo la jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandi
oto sa nakko be mu sikes restaurant
dafa na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's Restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator.
Good afternoon,
Gamcel.
Chairman, we are ready to proceed.
Thank you.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he...
Good afternoon, Mr. Barry.
Mr. Barry, nyalle jam.
Jamtu onjara.
Yes, afternoon to you too.
I hope you're feeling better now after the break.
Siki yahudan do fodi ndagol do ni on wawi heborde seda.
Yeah, alhamdulillah jon butti moja.
Yes, thanks to Allah, I have recovered and I'm okay now.
Are you in a position to proceed and sit through the next session?
Da ka won do don pari pour jodde de fuddo den jonne dimbere den.
Mi pare.
Yes, I am ready.
Thank you very much. During the last session, you were just telling us about your meeting with President Jammeh.
Jonde men sakira do fo yawde fota gongol don halande men don sifanade men gele yahuno don kanilla pour waaw hawrude lando lady wono do on ununi Yaya Jammeh.
After you met him and he snatched those papers off you, can you tell us what happened next?
Gila yahudon ha hawrunde da e makko ha o jetti nin kayde journal on wipiti dum jungoma ko ndu wadi
Yoni hari hilandari hakkunde mabbe soddari ben ari hakkundan e makko.
That was the time when soldiers came and stood between me and him.
Yoni be duni ran ha mi ari kasara debbo go wallilan don adrilan kasara.
They pushed me backwards until I came and stood near a lady who also helped me. And helped me to stand aside. Then we also followed him bit by bit until we entered his compound. When we entered the compound, the soldiers came out and said all the women should leave. Then I stayed there a little bit and I kept on standing there. One soldier came to me and asked me, "What are you doing here?" I told him that, well, it was me who came here with some papers and the president took those papers from me, so I am waiting, maybe he might call me. He told me to leave the compound, let me go out of the compound and go and sit somewhere outside in the village. When I left the first gate and I came into the outer compound, those soldiers there also told me to go out of the main compound and go and sit somewhere inside the village. This is the time I came back to that same baobab tree where I used to sit down.
Mr. Barry, did you recognize any of these soldiers?
Mr. Barry, be minute herubenda wodi e mabbe be andana ma wonda don andidi be.
On moment do me antata hay goto dal.
At that moment I cannot recognize anybody.
Did you know their names?
Inde mabbe nen no.
Don andi anda inde mabbe den on ben don on be arno be don post report.
No, I don't know their names. The people who first came to me and told me to leave the area, I don't know their names.
Do you know the distance between the baobab tree where you were sleeping and the president's house in Kanilai?
Ki bo hay ka wi don don yahu don don ko don joro don kanyum may galle yaya jambe den wodon dir gongol ndahi don way dum ebbude
ada buray wan do e ka main highway to den twice almost.
It will be twice the distance from here to the main road.
Okay, so what happened when you went back there?
On du wade gilande ma rotiti don ga bo hay
mi ari don mi jodi tad futuro heewi mi juli.
I was sitting there until it was around the 7 o'clock prayers. Then I got up and performed the prayers.
Juli je kadi.
I performed the last evening prayers there also.
Mi jodi dom rider man go ari jogi do rider.
I sat down there. Then one man came on a rider.
O ari o fijilan ari o dari takwa.
He came up to the point of passing me. He stood and came nearer to me. When that rider stopped there, a vehicle came there, a black Pajero, which came and stood in front.
So GP.
2 soldiers alighted from that vehicle. The man on the rider also stayed on his rider. One of the soldiers, the 2 soldiers who alighted from the vehicle, one of them came to me and asked me, "Where are you from?" I looked at him and I recognized him. He's somebody who they called O2 Kamara.
Where did you, sorry Mr. Barry, where did you recognize O2 Kamara from?
O2 Kamara ko hondo andi to dam mo
jamano ko watno ton 1 month on timo fijude pay ko yimbe no damo O2 Kamara ko dum wadi mi andi mo.
During my previous visit, when I spent almost 1 month there, whenever he's passing by, the children used to call his name O2 Kamara, O2 Kamara. This is how I came to know his name.
Do you know his first name?
Indama ko nan tigino hidon andi indama ko nan tigir.
No, min ko no mi andi dal.
No, I don't know his name, but this is how I know about. This is what I know about him. You call him O2 Kamara.
Please proceed.
Di mojo makon kanko O2 Kamara ni wo kujabi.
Is the second person that this O2 Kamara came with also is something Kujabi.
Kujabi jo olande lan kunun adilan Kaniline.
It was Kujabi who questioned me and asked me, "What brought you to Kanilai?"
Minebe mi wo even do go letter ji ya go State House lawyer be ko dumani kadi jabali hiwtu ton ko on sabu wadi mi ari Kaniline. I
told them I am here for a mission. My lawyers and other departments wrote a lot of letters to the government or to the head of state, and up to now no response. So this is why I decided to come here.
When Otu Kamara wilan ko hondu wadi mi ditti kaidi mi jonnani president mabbe.
That's the time when Otu Kamara asked me, why should I bring a paper and give it to their president?
Ndare mo minimo ko president ma antun ka ko president me info.
I asked him, is it your president only you, or he is our president, all of us?
Oh, yes, you are right, ko president me.
Then he said, okay, you are right. It is our president, all of us.
Jabin mo or wilan ane an kaidi ko juno da kon president andari kaidi ndi moja.
Then that's the time when Kujabi asked me, the paper you gave to the president, did you look at that paper properly?
I
said to him, yes. The paper I gave him is a paper that I know, and I know what's on it.
Newspaper was the headlines of newspaper.
He asked me, this newspaper, did you look at the headlines properly? I said to him, well, if I looked, I didn't see anything. But what is there? What is about the headlines?
Headlines of newspaper on or President Jammeh Loya Dabono bindi mo letter Wondermat is the worst president who traveled more than all presidents in Africa.
He told me that there is a letterhead which says, written by Wida Kombo Windimo Loya Dabo.
Kujabi landila headlines of newspaper on Wondermat be windy headlines ton President Jammeh is the worst president who is traveling more than all presidents in Africa.
He told me that Kujabi told me that the headline, one of the lines on the newspaper reads that President Jammeh is one of the worst presidents in Africa.
Traveling more than all presidents.
Traveling more than most of the presidents in Africa.
Traveling.
Who normally travels in most of the...
Who normally travels more than all presidents in Africa. I looked at him and I said to him, you... I said to him, you are Kujabi and also Otu Kamara.
Yaya Jammeh.
Yaya Jammeh.
Lawyer Dabo.
Lawyer Dabo.
Ming Abdoulaye Bari.
And myself, Abdoulaye Bari.
He the married right here when newspaper turned and now win den kala ko falden.
All of us has a right to go to the newspapers and write whatever we want to write.
Min ko woni purpose on and they're all newspaper nerton.
I told them that my purpose of what is written on this newspaper
natal an on noka der newspaper ton story an on ton denna.
My photo is on this newspaper and my story is also on the newspaper.
Mr. Barry, just to be clear, this other news paper article or headline which said that President Jammeh was the worst president in Africa and he travels more than any other president in Africa had nothing to do with your own article. It was a separate article covered by the newspaper.
Mr. Barry, laɓɓinen ɗo pour koko ɓe tumi kon ɓoyima kon ɗo wigol wondema oɗo newspaper horanen ko windiɗo kon ko ɗum woni ɓe Yaya Jammeh ko kanko woni lanɗo mo andandama wondema Afrique ɗo fof kanko woni lanɗo mo anda ko lanɗo bonɗo te ko lanɗo kanko woni lanɗo mo andanda kanko ɓurata hoɗoyade leyɗe Afrique leyɗele ɗen fof yeesoji ɗin ɗum ɗon no serdi kañum anko wonɗa kon ƴantude ɗum woni anko winde kon e newspaper ma o ndawana gonga.
Yeah, ko non yari because min komi inde mo ɗon.
Yeah, that's how it went. There are two separate things. And what I told them was...
Mr. Barry, so their opposition to you giving him the newspaper was the fact that there was another article which you had nothing to do with, by the way, which painted the president in a bad light. And obviously, he may have read it or seen it when you presented him with the newspaper.
You know, Mr. Barry, an a joni mo newspaper mo andana ma wondema ɓe wondema ɗon ko windi ton gon ko ɗum woni wondema ɓe haali ɗon konnguli ɗi andana ma ko konnguli wona konnguli labaɗi e président o joni kamɓe ko ɗimɓe woni tegude e hoore ma ɓe darani an ko wonɗa kon ƴantude e junngo makko dako noon
kono waɗi mi jaabimo mine mo ɗum wona personal affairs min affairs an on ko ka lettre an on woni ɗon lettre natal an on ko ɗum addilal ngal.
I told them that other item is not, I have nothing to do with it. That's not my affair. What I am here for is the article where my photo is and my story is written there. That's why I am here.
So, William, okay. Okay, William Johnny, Yaltu Kaniline.
He said to me, okay, but you have to leave Kanilai.
Indarimo, minimum, mi handicap.
I looked at him and I told him that I am a handicapped person. I told him there is no vehicle here and it is night time now. How can I go?
That's immediately.
That's the time when Otu Kamara told me, I am giving you up to 6 o'clock. You have to leave Kanilai.
6 a.m. or 6 p.m.?
So I was 6. What do you do? Go bimbi onda ko kiki.
Andi ko jama mi woni joni ko subaka bimbi o wi si bi weti subaka e demasi subaka mi yaltu mi yaha.
It was at night when this was taking place. Then what he meant was that 6 o'clock in the morning I have to leave Kanilai.
Can you tell us the demeanor? Can you tell us the demeanor of these soldiers who approached you? Were they courteous or did they appear in any manner?
Be military be andama be tawima dayda waye men holla haalande ma be honno be birema ko honno be yirum be hewtire e manda ko yimbe be andama ko be nyaadunobe e manda ko be jippino hoore mabbe
benga ka state ka galle makko tombe yuri be dido kala be jogi fetel kanyo o jogi do rider mo jogi fetel be fo mabbe.
They came out of his compound and all these soldiers were carrying guns. Even the man on the rider also had guns, had a pistol on him. So all of them were armed and they came out of his compound.
Ni mi yaltu joni be mi ala no mi yara be ni ko min be ko mi handicap mi wata yahude joni be ni mi yaltu 6 o'clock be nangi law mabbe be.
When they told me that, when I informed them that I'm a handicap, they said, okay, now we are giving you up to 6 o'clock in the morning to leave Kanilai. So after they told me this, that's the time when they left.
And how did you feel at that point, knowing that you were no longer welcome in Kanilai and they had asked you to leave? How did you feel? Did you feel safe?
Johnny, on what to dong gilabe yuma dum. Anko honno yiruda horema anda asikune horema wonda ma hida dandika wonno da dong de wonno be yima wonda ma ya yaltu Kanilai on wattu nanko honno yiruda horema on wattu don da esikke ma asikune wonda ma hida dandika wonda don
donc komi wonno yide horang ko sibe aranelam be wada ko be fala kambe andi mi dimmi don hillan jula rek la nafa rek mi nafi don ha mi nafi don ha on sa mi ronki.
Well, at that time, I didn't mind anything. I continued there. What I was doing was continue praying. I prayed there continuously up to any time. But all what I was doing was to pray to Allah and ask for His mercy.
Every 5 or 10, 15 minutes,
then what happened after that was that every 10 to 15 minutes, this Pajero will come and pass by, and that man on the rider will also come and pass by.
Hari mimbari mi anda cigarette Allah mi sodi package didi cigarette mi fi mi mita dun na fatala.
At that time, I don't even smoke. I was not a smoker. But because of the frustration and how I felt, I decided to go and buy 2 packets of cigarettes and I started smoking. But even after that, I realized that the cigarette smoking didn't help me anyway.
Did you feel any fear at that point?
No, on what dong? On huluno?
Ilami andi horang libi banduang imanoki kono kondinyande libi bandandu no hari no dari asika ma distu galas wadda horang hakke ko mi huli bandandu fop no dari ilandara ni tu.
From the day I was born, the fear I had that day, I never had that kind of fear, because there came a time when even my whole body started feeling like if you pour a cold water on me, ice cold water, if you pour that on a person, how he feels, that's how I felt. And all the hairs on my body started to stand on end.
Can you tell us why you felt that way?
You know why haladimbe ko dun taki bandu mondu wa iri wano.
Juni woni hafada wano around 1 or 2 AM jemmani yimbe dula ton ko mintu woni don hibe feja waylan duttude don be naba ko be wada ko be fala.
The fear in me was that, well, as far as I was sitting there until around 2 AM, and this black Pajero was passing on and off, going different ways, passing me, and the man on the rider also was doing the same thing. So this is what put fear on me, and I became lonely. I didn't see anybody around. Nobody was around except me alone, and these people, that vehicle and that rider were just passing by at all times. So this is what put the fear in me, because they could have done anything to me there.
Like what?
No, do dum e way hondum ko be wayma wadde ko kala e hondum ni
ti jogi do finkaaji ari yeso ma wi kon watta yeso president makko yaltu do sa yaltali ko hebma o kan wadi.
When somebody with a gun comes and stands in front of you and asks you, what are you doing here near our president's compound, and tells you to leave the area as soon as possible, which was impossible at that time. Now, if these people continued passing around, anything can happen to you. They could have killed you and do anything to you, and you are powerless. There's nothing you can do about it.
And why do you feel, Mr. Barry, that they were capable of killing you?
Odun taki onong dum ari mijo mo wigol wonda ma nangudo hakkille ma wonda ma be hibe wawma warude.
You were in plain sight. You were under a tree in public. You were sleeping outside, basically. Why do you feel that they would have had that audacity to actually kill you?
Anko yasi wonno da te ko na hida wodduno be seda kawju wonno da ton ko antan wonno don hida jodani don horema ko dum taki hebuna ngom mijo wigol wonda ma be no wawma warude do.
mijo mi sikude simi joni be kaydi ko yo noddam men dumanno kono wana yo jogi be pinkara lando lan ko hundum adde lan ton andi ko hulbe na otidi.
Well, what I was thinking about was, I came with these papers to hand it over to the president so that he will be aware of my problem. But I didn't ever think that gunmen will come and confront me and even tell me to leave that area as quick as possible. So this was what made me afraid, because as far as the situation was, I was alone there. So this is why I had this fear in me that anything could have happened.
So did you eventually leave Kanilai?
Ndaka sakitoron dum yaltuno sare Kanilai nde.
Joni mi woni don ha around minani jerto gana wada koro mi ndari tamo go 6 badike minani gele wadno arabe na birikama.
That's where I was until in the early hours of the morning. I had the cock crow. Then immediately after that, I had one gele coming and they were saying birikama. Then I got up. When the vehicle came nearby, I stopped it and I went into the vehicle and said, okay, I'm going to Brikama. Then people also came on board and we went up to a village called Kamfenda.
Checkpoint.
The vehicle stopped at the checkpoint there.
Military be ari dari muton got ari katela ka palantere ko montiri don.
The soldiers came around the vehicle. They were checking inside. One soldier came to the window and stood by the window where I was sitting.
Ondari lanni ondaro yi scotch join jude ande.
He looked at me and looked at me again and saw the crutches in my hands.
Oditi walkie-talkie on he's out.
That's the time when the man took his walkie-talkie. I heard him saying in the walkie-talkie that he is out.
When the
Gele vehicle moved away, I thanked Allah. Then I said to myself, thank Allah, I am away from this place. Then I came and alighted from the vehicle in Brikama.
Mr. Barry, what do you think they meant by he's out? The soldier said he's out when he was talking in his walkie-talkie after they searched the car and saw you.
Mr. Barry, mijoma sikuda ko dum o firti dum do wigol wondema he is out. Dum sikama mijoma ko dum firti.
Mijo on why was it what the communication wondema timi alti Kanilai few mi acci sare mabbe.
Well, what I was thinking about that was when I heard him say this, I thought that, well, they are talking about me, saying that I have left Kanilai as far as in the previous evening they told me to leave the place.
So you believed that they were monitoring your movements?
Oh, you know what? Ini ang ko gomda ko do woni wonda ma ang hari be dartindade fima.
Ben don ila jema ko wala no patro ndar golla ko min tubo no wande wadde monitor no habe andi mi yalti joni.
Well, what I thought about that was, I thought that they were monitoring me. By the time when I was there in the evening, that Pajero vehicle was passing by and the rider passing by continuously. I thought that they were monitoring me. So this is why, when I heard that man talking in the walkie-talkie saying that he is out, then it dawned on me that, well, really, these people were monitoring me. This is why he is saying to them that he is out.
And how did you feel at that point, being inside this vehicle and soldiers were searching for you, and you felt like you were under surveillance? How did you feel?
On jamanu gilande ma moto mo ngari hewti ha on checkpoint don militaire be ngari be go be hurli moto on hibe dartindo moto on an hida kan moto militaire ju goddo ardi ka hedde ka palantere ka jodi da don hew yurni der ton o yi an ledde de yarata den o wi o haali di konguli an hondo dum wa e ma kadre moto don an gila wonno da don ko hondo dum wa uno e ma.
La mijo Allah wallila mi dadi be alhamdulillah joni mi ya be ngurande.
What went into my mind at that time was that I thanked Allah first of all. Then I said, now at least as far as I am out of that place, I will be able to see my family and my family will be able to see me. I thank Allah for that. Because even the apprentice of the vehicle was asking for fares but I was even unable to hear him because of what was going in my mind at that moment. This was the time when the driver of the vehicle brought down his window glass. He looked inside the mirror, the back view mirror, and saw me. Then that driver recognized me, and he told the apprentice that, "Don't ask fare from that man. I knew him before. He was also a driver." I came to Brikama and I alighted from the vehicle. I was walking by the roadside when one vehicle coming from Soma found me there. The man who was driving that vehicle was one time my apprentice. In fact, I taught him how to drive. But the moment the man saw me, he alighted from the vehicle, he sat down on the ground and started crying.
So,
that's where he dropped his passengers. Then he took me up on board his vehicle.
Why do you think he behaved in that manner? Why was he crying when he saw you?
Esikema kon wari sikuda on apprentice jama mo andana o yi uma himo imori jara so ma leli jara so ma yi uma tan o jommini o wulli e horema sikuda ko honno wadi dum
andi si aden ande makko wonno da hida darodi e banduma e physical no wonirno da ha a hebi jon problème a wana horema o yima yurmene den natte makko o fuddi wullude.
I think the man felt pity for me, because that man knew me when I was teaching him how to drive. He knew how I was strong. He saw how I was taking care of myself and my family. He knew what I was capable of, and I taught him how to drive. I was quite okay at that time. But if that same man comes and see me looked at me as somebody powerless, a handicap, he looked at me and saw my condition, I think that sadness, that was what made him sit down on the ground and cry.
London.
That man took me all the way to where I have my house in London Corner.
Almost $3,000.
That man bought a bag of potatoes, onions, a drum of oil, and gave almost $3,000 to my wife.
So yahi o ari o adana lan kembo o ndara lan himo humpala o walla lan moƴƴanon kumpay kon dal.
And up to this very moment, that man has been helping me. Whenever he goes to Soma and comes back, he will buy charcoal for me, and apart from that, he will buy some other things for me and bring it for me and my family, and he will also give money to my wife.
How's your trip? Mini trip home, mini hono Kaniline.
Then when I arrived at home, my wife asked me, "How was your trip?" I asked her, "What trip?" She said, "Your trip to Kanilai."
Minute Bengwang.
And then I said to my wife,
Hanking Jamma Anyaka nobody mad.
I told her it's just by sheer luck that you didn't lose your husband.
We heard nobody.
She said, "What happened?"
Mini mi president on mi junni mo kaydi o jabi kaydi juude am joni jemmaji din fof jogi be pinkabe no ara hore am.
I told her I went to Kanilai. I was able to see the president. I gave him my papers. But after that, throughout the night where I was sitting outside, gunmen were just passing by me every few minutes. And she said to me, "Barry." I said, "Yes." She told me, "Forget about these people before you will lose your life." I said, "Okay."
I
spent the night there. The following day was Monday in the morning. I woke up.
Mr. Barry, before we proceed, I just wanted to go back on your visit to Kanilai. You had visited the president there, I believe it was in 2004, because you said it was the 10-year anniversary of his taking over the country. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah, bao do ni gilanda wa yahono da Kanilai puru wa dugol fere ndara sawa yi de president o sikki dum ko 10-year anniversary ya jamme dum hawrondirno Kanilai wa yahono da tongo 2004.
Donc non yari wadi ton 1 month.
Yes, that was how it went. That was my first trip when I spent almost 1 month there.
Yes, Mr. Barry, before that, did you have any communication with the president?
Mr. Barry, gilande ma yahono da ida famun rano e president o.
Non fo mi do yamo fejja kono hebata access bada golmo.
No, during all the time, I just see him passing by, but I don't even get the chance to go closer to him. I had no access to him at all.
Did you write to the ex-president Yaya Jammeh before you went to Kanilai?
Yahude Kanilai, kasare Kanilai, nda on windandomo later.
Lanjugi no kaidi ko mi windi on handwriting on high typado. Lanjugi no mo kabaga. Si mi yuno mo ko o mi jonna no mo si wono mo yudude kono alla wadi mi hebali access yudugo makko ni kaidi dutti kabaga.
No, but what I had was a handwritten paper which I had in my bag, and my intention was to hand that handwritten paper to him if I was able to get near him. But I didn't have any access to him. I was unable to go near him. I was unable to pass that paper to him. It was in my bag.
Did you subsequently write to the president after your visit to Kanilai?
Da kasakitoron gilanda ma yawda Kanilai pour humpita gol mo ton nda awindanno mo later kaydi.
Sakitoron ko mi yata ko mi nabori newspaper on winduno kaydi gol on ko din kaydi on newspaper be o jabi ka jungwa.
Well, the letter I wrote was with me. That was the letter which accompanied the newspaper, which were with me all the time when I reached Kanilai. These two documents were the documents I gave him, and these were the documents that he snatched from my hand.
Mr. Barry, we have a letter here that is actually typed out, signed by you, and it's dated 4th of August 2003.
Mr. Barry, o nini fondo hebe hemdi don letter wondo goddo manda ma wonda ma ko wado letter wada do type machine te letter ron ko lewru August balde mun nay 2003 o winda te ko anu on signe mo.
In fact, it bears your name but not your signature, if I may just clarify that.
Pour o fewna do o wi ko inde mo wondon kono wona signature mo wondon
ko do mi windi mo mi nabe mo State House be wada la reply wona Kanilai mi nabori o do ko State House Banjul.
That was the letter I took to the State House in Banjul, not to Kanilai. That letter, I personally took it to State House in Banjul.
And was that in 2003?
That don't go hit on 2003?
Yes, that was in 2003.
And that was before you, as you said, it was before your visit to Kanilai.
Yes, that's quite true.
And was it because you had no response to this letter? That's why you went to Kanilai?
Nung sai on yehi on happy feo joranda buri hagol Kanilai sab ko hebani jabu e letter mo jonnan do mon e kundagi wi don jonnan don buri yahu ndaron so yiyem Kanilai.
Wa ko bam hebali
jabu e
jabande yimbe ben fo windi hebali jabande ko dum wadi mi windi wala e disque famille Kanilai.
Well, as far as wrote that letter and I had no reply for that letter, then this is why I wrote this other paper plus the newspaper item. These are the two letters I personally went to Kanilai with because I had no reply for the first letter which I sent.
Do you know whether you can identify this letter? Is that the letter you're referring to?
Dako on letter woni don. Ko on no wide halde kullem.
Yeah, o ko mi windu no o.
Yes, this is the letter I wrote.
State House Banjul.
I took it to State House in Banjul and there was no reply.
Was it the same letter that you attempted to give to President Jammeh in Kanilai as well?
Dako on letter gotong buno don pour jonnon kan president do woni Yaya Jammeh Kanilai so hewtino to ko on letter.
Letter mo mi windu no mi nabi Kanilai e odo is almost the same faida ko fino mi hebira lawo rek e makko sita be waylan wallude ko dum wadi mo wadde kip windugo rek fino be no hewtira makko.
Yes, I wrote another letter different from this one, but almost they were almost the same, because I was just trying to get access to him so that I can hand over these documents to him.
Mr. Barry, have a look at this letter and tell us whether this was the letter you carried with you to Kanilai.
Joni o letter mo arma arde jonnangol ma do ndari o do letter kan dako o wonno letter mo andama wondama ko yaadu nabornon da ko yahayno da Kanilai pour yugol wadugol fere ndara sa wawa yidude e makko pour jonnama mo.
Can you tell us if that was the letter, or is it another letter that we don't have a copy of?
Ndako o wonno letter on mo andama wonno ayadu ko yaadu no da e mum Kanilai ko yahayno da Kanilai pour si a hewti jonnamo si a hebi fere pour yidugol e makko.
O odo mi andita fi makko odo hari dan yahayno headquarter of Banjul mi windi o mi wadi o envelope fino yaraka State House kadi mo mi nabuno on Kanilai mi si kastulan jogino photocopy makko because mi wadi mo type rek mi jogodi mo e newspaper mi yademo.
Well, this is the letter which I wrote and took to the Banjul Police headquarters. But the letter I went with to Kanilai plus that newspaper item is different from this. Because the letter I wrote, which I took along to Kanilai with the newspaper item, is a letter which I wrote. There was no photocopy of that one. I just wrote it and took it along with me to Kanilai.
Okay. And did you hand it over to the president?
Later on jonno lando wonoro do.
That was the letter he snatched from my hand with the newspaper item.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we would like to tender the letter into evidence as Exhibit 130. I believe it's K. Correct.
There's 130K for both documents or just for one?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
130K
yes.
For both documents or?
And L. K and L.
K and L. Oh,
yes,
splendid.
please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Request granted.
Okay. Mr. Barry, kindly tell us what happened after you came back from Kanilai. You started telling us what happened the next day after you narrated the whole ordeal to your wife.
Joni, Mr. Barry, Joni, continue halano yimbe gilandama artu don Kanilai gila weti on halni yimbe fuddi ga sifanare yimbe sifani don bengu mo fo ko yare kon ko ye feji kon ton. Joni aja don way yettude don halano yimbe ko honno.
Joni mi ari dimanche o mi wali weti monde bimbi mi immi mi yahay ko mi jodoto dom yimbe okala.
Well, I came back on a Sunday and I spent the night at home. The following day was a Monday. After talking to my wife in the morning, I decided to leave and go and sit down at the junction where I used to sit down.
Une do ha ko nange wulata mojjano ay on sati mi dalali time dal fondo hadi fana on no yonali.
I was sitting there until the sun became very hot, but it was before the 2 o'clock prayers.
O on to the police ajo go ari don wiete do tatin baji o ari yeso an ari o dari.
There was a policeman called Tatin Baji. He came up to the place where I was sitting. He stood in front of me. At that time, he was the Inspector General or he was the IG.
Bodyguard Adoulie Bari, minimum yes.
He alighted from the vehicle with his bodyguard and he asked me, "Are you the man called Adoulie Bari?" Then I said yes.
We were President Jammeh no landi fima.
He told me, "President Jammeh is asking about you."
Minimum okay.
I said okay.
We joined Mayor State Banjul headquarters.
Then he told me that now we are going to the Banjul headquarters. They helped me, then I climbed on board his vehicle behind and I sat down. When we arrived at the headquarters, the police headquarters in Banjul, they helped me. I alighted from the vehicle. They helped me again to climb up the stairs to the office upstairs. He told me that it was the president who told me to find out where I was. He told me, I asked him, well, how did you find me? He told me that, but if you remember, you wrote a letter where you wrote the place where you used to sit down the whole day. It is on your letter. This is how I came to find out, because the moment I read that on the letter, I decided to come to the place. This is how I found you out.
President Jamme Wondemati Kanko Ilang, joining me next Wednesday on Abalang State House.
Then after discussing with him, he told me, okay, now you can go home. You can come back next Wednesday. If you come, then I will take you to the president. But before then, I will go to him and tell him that I have seen you.
Mr. Barry, just to be clear, this was still in 2004, a day or so after your visit to Kanilai.
Yeah.
Go hit under 2004, Nyalane and Madoya Yahude no Kanilai.
Yes, exactly.
Please proceed.
Johnny Owilam on Wednesday by me array.
He told me to come back on a Wednesday. Then I went there on that Wednesday.
Yarik office Makomi Jody Owilam.
I went to his office and I sat down. Then he told me. He told me to get near to him.
William, non fi o case ma wadi lan difficult because me ala document comme holla president on hono accident mayari.
He told me that your case brought a difficulty for me because I have no document which I have to show to the president so that he will know exactly what is your case and everything about your case. So this is why I found it very difficult to go along with your case.
Minimo haisa yila no woniri ni milam buri document anabila ni no buri we got a document.
I told him even my appearance is a document because the way I look, my appearance, the way I am. If you take me to him when he himself sees me, that's a complete document about me.
We were just a problem.
He said that will create a problem for him.
Minimo, sorry sir.
Then I said to him, then sorry sir. I said, an IG is an IG. I said, somebody who is sitting on the seat. I said, if you get up and somebody else sits down,
the same IG.
It's the same IG. I told him this is where corruption starts. He asked me, what are you saying? I said to him, corruption starts at the seat where you are sitting down.
Why?
He asked me why. I told him I brought my papers here. I told him I came here. A policeman called Dambele was aware, plus Jatabalde. And we gave our documents to Jayso. Jayso took these documents from me.
I'm sorry, your document is missing.
When I returned back, Jayso looked at me and told me that your documents are missing. Ibunjai
si bopam ondari na wilan he kaidi madi no maji.
Ibunjai also came and told me that your papers got lost.
I think there's something wrong with the interpretation. Just repeat what you said, Mr. Barry.
Minimo corruption on kakajulere do fuore e makko.
I told him corruption starts with you here on this seat.
Miniko mi arde jata balde. I told him I came here previously
and myself and Jatabalde, we gave our documents to Jay Sow. He took them and put them inside a cupboard.
When Ibunja Yaika office Makondare or William, Mr. Bade, I'm sorry, your document is missing.
On my order return, Ibunja went into his office and came out and told me that your documents are missing. This is why I'm saying to you that corruption starts here on your chair.
And can you tell us who Ibunjai was at that point?
Ibunjai jo kanko wonno hombo on
what? Kanko wonno IGP.
Ibunjai was also the IG at that point.
And it was Tatin Baji who replaced Ibunjai.
No, I need Tatin Baji kong lonti Ibunjai.
Wow, kono exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
And just to remind our viewers, you had told us that Jaysaw was the deputy IGP at that time when you had submitted your documents to the police.
Do andintineng yimbe wombe embe ndarude. Awi no do yimbe on mako Jaysaw kankon hikino yeso police abe no don IG on watu.
Yeah.
Yes.
OC Jata Balde was the OC at Birkama.
OC Jata Balde kanko OC Birkama wonno.
Yeah.
Yes. And Dambale was the investigating police officer of your case.
Dambale kanko wonno Banjulindin police station kanko wonno lijintinde case ma on.
Yes.
Jaysaw was the deputy IG to Ibunjai.
Jaysaw was the deputy IG when Ibunjai was IG.
Kudung onsa by Ibunjai we don tatimbaji ari woni don.
That's the time. That's when Jaysaw when Ibunjai left. It was Tatin Baji who replaced him.
So Baji ndari lang alako jabo lang wilam.
Baji looked at me. He had nothing to tell me, and then he said,
"Aroi fatbi jango what an other new statement kaidiji no haram wadi nabude ka President Jammeh."
Then Baji told me, "You can come back the day after tomorrow. We will write out a new statement and we will take that to President Jammeh." I told him, "You see, I am handicapped. Going and coming is really a problem for me, and my leg is giving me a very serious problem nowadays."
You know, it's telephone Makong or not the Banjulundin.
That's the time he raised up his telephone and called Banjulunding.
Not the Brikam Hari Onsati or not the Jatabalde Himowuri or Mayalitao.
And he also called Brikama. Jatabalde was alive. This was before he died.
Jatabalde said animo wonde mati ha dunko ni yari de ko memako yadi wonde mati di kaydi ji sita be sudi de be wallum be joni tamo.
That's the time when Jatabalde explained to him that really it was me and this man who came together to that office. If you can locate his papers, please take them out so that the case can go forward.
The commissioner commissioner of police
they called some commissioners of police who came. They came and wrote some papers.
President Jammeh.
And they said they will take these papers to President Jammeh.
Do you remember who these commissioners of police were?
Mr. Jen.
It was Mr. Jeng. And there was also one fuller man, I forgot his name.
I forgot their names. So,
do you know what unit of the police they belong to?
I don't andi sengo police ngonko sengo hongo be imure police yo.
Ko commissioner what be uri Brikama what be Serakunda got the Karaba police station.
They were all police commissioners, one from Brikama, one from Serakunda, one from the Kairaba police station.
They
came there and sat down, all of them, they wrote, and they said they will take these papers. They told me to go.
Mi ali reply mi nali telephone fus mi atti mi landimo o wi kanko nabi kaydi jiton no respond yet.
I was there for some time, still no response. Then I decided to go back to him to ask him. Then he told me, well, I'm also still waiting and still I haven't received any response.
How long was that? How long did you have to wait?
Pour habagol ma dum jetti ma watu jijelu.
Nabila, almost 3 weeks above dal.
I waited for about 3 weeks and above. More than 3 weeks I was waiting.
Do you know whether, or can you remember whether the IGP Tatin Baji told you the purpose of sending these documents to Yaya Jammeh, or why Yaya Jammeh wanted to see them?
Sido wawi manditade tattimbaji nda o haalanno dalila ko honɗum sababu taki o faala jonnande Yaya Jammeh ɗi kaydiji pour o yiyadi.
Because min ko wilam, because document ko ɓe waɗi kon statement fi accident no yaari ɓe ɗum ɗon wo majjiriɓe joni ko waɗu different statement hala ko kanko e commissioner ɓe windi ɗum ɗon together with myself hala ko ɗum ɓe naɓata ka Yaya Jammeh hollugol mo.
The information he gave me was that as far as my previous documents were said they were lost. So this is why he called these other commissioners who came and sat down with him. They said they were going to write something new, which they will send to Yaya Jammeh. So this is why they called me and told me to sit down with them so that they can write these documents and they will send it to Yaya Jammeh. This is why I came there and sat down with them.
Did they tell you why Yaya Jammeh wanted to see the documents? What was he going to do anything for you?
Ndabe halan non ko honɗum dalila sababu on dalila honɗum tagi Yaya Jammeh faala yide ɗi kayri ndaw wodi ko faala wadde.
Indo o wallale hay hunde ko witun sime moƴƴini ɗum ɗon o naɓata ka président Jammeh because o wilan ko président nilnomo yo lando fi am.
Well, he didn't.
O yiilan joni ko ɗum waɗi dali o moƴƴini ɗi kaydiji no naɓira o hollamo joni ko kamɓe andi kon ɗum ɓe faalanno waɗude.
Well, the reason he called me was that he said President Jammeh informed him that he would like to know something about me. So this is why they called me to go there. I went, he called these commissioners, they wrote down these papers, and he said they were going to take these papers to President Jammeh. So this is the only information they told me.
So Jammeh just wanted to have or gather more information about you after you had visited him.
Amunda hino wa ini Yaya Jammeh ko faala no kafindirde kibar tan fiima de wonno wondema o faami wondema a yahuno pour yi'ugol sawaye mo yidude e makko.
Ko non nandenta gite andi min kadi e hoore ko non nandantalam.
Well, this is, I also thought what the reason was all about.
Did you personally hear from Yaya Jammeh apart from him sending Tatin Baji to you?
Na onon tigi on nanuno e sengo Yaya Jammeh e sengo makko hara ona si feƴƴi ko nuli kon Tatin Baji e mo.
Joni ɗon mi nanali hande kadi ko si mi ari ka Tatin Baji am busy mi watamo yude mi jukki ha mi waɗi give up dal.
Well, that's how everything ended. Because after that, if I come to Tatin Baji, in fact to see him was a problem for me. He will tell the guys that, tell him that I am busy, I cannot see him, I've been going up and down, until I became more frustrated, then I gave up everything.
On site national transport, Wadiland Safe the garage, Banjul ɗon mi jooɗo ɗon mi waɗa collect driver ɓe min senda kiki heɓa komi waɗa dépense.
So that was the time the transport union brought me and made me a chef de garage at the Banjul garage. So when the drivers loaded and the amount they used to give to the garage, when we collect this money, in the evening if I am going, they'll give me part of that money when I go home. That's what I used to give my wife as fish money.
So mi woniri noon toujours time to time mi winda letter. In 2014 mi windi letter to the president again.
So this is how I was living. Time to time I will write a letter. But again, in 2014, I decided to write another letter again to the president.
Mr. Barry, you had told us that you wrote letters to Yaya Jammeh. You've presented 3 letters to us. One was written in 2009, August the 5th, and another one was written on the 21st of November 2012, and the last one you mentioned, that's the 30th June 2014.
Halani do yimbe wondama a windano Yaya Jammeh letaruji ɗanana ko letaruji ɗuɗi letaruji tati letar goɗɗon ko lewru August balɗe mum 5 letar ɗimmo ko lewru August balɗe mum 21 letar tammo ko lewru June balɗe mum 2014.
Yeah, komi wonno windude to waɗgo ɓe remind ha jeni hayso mi waɗi give up but what I'm winda don't have andi I'm just behind them still.
Well, yes, it's true. I wrote these letters just to remind them that I am still around, so that they might have an idea about me, or they might think about me or consider my case. This is why I kept on writing these letters, to remind them.
So, letter.
It's all right, Mr. Barry. I just wanted to present these documents to you so that you could identify them. And
don hawri ko fala dan pour be natina di kan li letaru ji kan re hala kono do dum be yettinanta di taw ndara di taw
kindly confirm that these are the 3 letters you're referring to.
Ndare di letaruji don ndar ko di letaruji tati won don halde fi mu jonni
di commune do windi di do fi tam wijutu horang e mabbe all the time winda be mi wada be senton den ha almost 2014.
Yes, these are letters that I wrote to remind them about my case, up to this last one which I wrote in the year 2014.
Thank you very much. And did you receive any response to any of these letters?
ajarama kono non di letaruji tati fo di winduda do nda hebuno jabu e di letaruji dawodi mo hebuda jabu e mu
I got mum e not dalla hay fuse modon nothing.
They didn't reply any of these letters. Nothing came from them.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to tender the letters, but perhaps when you're ready, I will do so with the commissioners. Please go on, Mr. Barry, and just tell us what happened after that, after you were chef of the garage, they were giving you money to live on. You did not receive any response to any of these letters. From 2004 up to, I believe this is 2014 we're talking about. Is that correct?
joni kontina hala gelandama be yahu se be suuma be aduma chef de garage on ida ya ton da hen don budi e jungo mabbe ton si jippike feccon be wawa hebude hen dépense ko jonnana be ngura maden ko jonna be ngura maden e de letter ji kadi di winduda den kadi hebano jabu e majji ko honno dum yaare joni
mi woni chef de garage don wallugol be ngurande wallito horam ala ko mi wada ko dum tumbe mi wada dum don.
Well, as far as I have nothing else to do, I continued being the chef de garage at the garage there, and that money that I used to get when we share the money in the evening, that's what I was living on with my family.
And Mr. Barry, during this time, the driver, Dauda Sane, who caused your accident, had not been prosecuted by the police.
Joni hino waini ha on wattu ka wondon don o Dauda Sane jomo andanda ma wono kanko gallino ma o oroma kanko waduma de bade o accident ha hande ka wonno don don o na meeda ka nabbe de suudu nyaaworde sakko o nyaawe
on ndaba ka ton ha hande ko mi arno ka makko ton fi gommo o jabali police e soddare be no dari yeso amen lon tum fayda mon mu yide dal ha e 2010
I was unable, the man had never been taken to court, nothing came out of it, the man has never done anything. That's why I made this effort to go and meet him personally. But when I went to see him, I was seeing him sitting down there. He was looking at me, but some soldiers came and stood between me and him, and they told me that I cannot see him.
And when was this?
Around 2012, dem na fa, 2014, dem na si Kirgi.
I went there in 2012 and I returned there again in 2014.
And as you said, you also did not receive any compensation for your injuries.
Nde barmande de hewdande fo e bandu madum ameda ka jonnede goddum wiye wondema ko ya ko binira ciogu guruma ko binira bernamande.
Ay hunde.
Up to this minute, nothing.
And you have told us that you sought the assistance of lawyer Badu Conte as well as lawyer Ida Drame.
Awi wonde may do yimbe kadi a hebuno ballal immorgal lawyer Badu Conte kanyum may lawyer Ida Drame.
Did you ever make any attempts to file a civil suit against Dauda Sane, the driver?
Nda on hebuno anni on puru saminagol Dauda Sane ka court.
Andi on sati dole den no serti kala ino do wada e don no gasa be hula fi hore mabbe dal so on don ko woni don ka nene oda no hulbini so hubbe jabata wadde walludalam.
In those days, those people were untouchables. Even Dr. Sane, where he used to go and sit down at the president's mother's residence, nobody dares to approach him there. This is why they stopped me and said I cannot see him. And apart from that, anybody whom I approach for them to help me, if I explain the matter to them and the people involved, they were all afraid to stand by me. They wouldn't even risk their heads to go and stand for me.
So it would be risky to file a civil suit against Dr. Sane because of the fear people had in the state.
Oh, you know what? Ini puru we hebugol anni o ma mijongol wigol no samino o Dr. Sane court dum wona dum ko anda ko wartagol dal.
Yeah.
Puru wigol no samino be sabu hondo no be wodi no dole ko be jogino on jama.
Ko non yaridi.
Exactly.
The
That's how it was. Everybody was thinking about his or her own head.
What happened after you sent the last letter to ex-president Yaya Jammeh in 2014?
Joni hitande 2014 kondu wadi gilande ma jonnanda Yaya Jammeh o letter hitande ne be 2014
wami windi letter on o yehi office of the president goddo no ton wiete do Lamin Camara onko sojajo o noddilanka telephone.
After sending this last letter to the office of the president, there was a soldier there called Lamin Camara who called me on telephone.
We can win the letter minimum.
He asked me, "Are you the man who wrote this letter?" I said yes.
William Gasi Joni kanko o jonna letter on o wali nanga katabal president Jammeh on site ko dum o William.
He told me, "Okay, it's all right now. I'll place this letter on President Jammeh's table so that he can see the letter."
Lundo woniri no ha 2015 minanal high force.
That's how it went on until 2015. I didn't hear anything.
Yoni mi wadi mi windi on other letter again mi nabi.
Then I wrote another letter again and I took it.
Debbo go wondo State House don o wi kanko ko office of the president o woni.
There was a lady who said she was also working at the office of the president.
William minimum office of president tigi on we work kanko woni PS2.
I asked her if really she was working at the office of the president. Then she told me that she was the permanent secretary number 2, PS number 2 at the president's office.
We no name.
I asked her name. She said no, she will not give me her name.
Okay.
I said okay.
We were letter ma huti judame kunu fadame wadane.
Then she asked me, "Your letter has reached us. It is in our hands. But what do you want us to do for you?"
Minibe komi handicap.
I told them I am handicapped.
Ala hunde komi jogino ko muto on obuni mi ala komi itola aduna hande kadi.
I have nothing. I am penniless right now. The vehicle that I had, which was helping me to have a living, is now completely destroyed, and I have nothing else to live on. So this is the type. That's why I'm seeking help from you people. I told them the blood that came from me, and my blood was spilled, and the suffering I went through, the damage that happened to my body. Nobody can pay me that in money. So this is why I'm looking now for help. I told them now, anything that you can help me to start a new life, that's all what I'm looking for.
Okay.
She said okay. She said that they will call me later. I said okay.
2016.
I was there till 2016.
Okay, debon o noddi lankadi hari ndenyande ilang sumaya no badi.
So one day just before the onset of the Ramadan, this same lady called me again.
William Mr. Bari good yalti fi made
She told me, Mr. Barry, something has come up about your case. I asked her, what was it?
We were, boss mini boss ma humble.
She said, it is in the hands of my boss. And I asked her, who is your boss?
We ko big man on Johnny, boss ma ko goddum.
She told me that the big man gave something to my boss for me.
Can you tell us who the big man was and who her boss was?
So we big man ko hombo non te ko hombo no boss mako kadi.
I milande kam o wi ko president Jammeh ti goddum joni goddo protocol jo mabbe hore jo mabbe on.
She told me, when I asked her, she told me that President Jammeh gave something to the head of the protocol, the protocols that were working for the president, but it was given to the head of the protocol at that time.
Do you remember the name of the head of protocol?
Da ida wo ay mandita de yeso protocol on jamano.
Debbo ay hore makko jonalla inde o jonalla hay goto inde.
The lady refused to give me any name. She refused to give me even her own name.
And just in relation to the facts that you were narrating about, what you had said to Yaya Jammeh in your letters, I would just like to highlight these.
Owi ko sababu ni ko wonda kon haalde do pour lettaruji di windanda din Yaya Jammeh e sababu dum don e dow dum don hoore di lettaruji o fala wadi ko fala ma jangande do.
And before I do so, Mr. Chairman, I would like to tender the letters into evidence. The letter dated the 5th day of August 2009 as Exhibit 130M. And I would like to just quote a few paragraphs of the letter before I move into exhibit the next one. The witness says, my life has been shattered by this tragic incident, and I still find it difficult to pick up the pieces. I now live from hand to mouth, and I totally depend on charity to keep my family. And the next letter is dated the 21st of November 2012, and I would like to apply that it is exhibited as 130N. It says in that letter, I seriously need rehabilitation, but all my steps towards this end have come to naught. I have sought the intervention of the Army, the police, the Office of the Ombudsman, African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies. The next one is the letter dated. I will just go back to the previous letter, Mr. Chairman. It also states that I have children that should be going to school now, but because of lack of financial assistance, I cannot afford their school fees. Your Excellency, I am appealing to you to consider my situation and help me to help my children towards their brighter future. I really need help to take them back to school. Sir, considering your fairness and empathy you have towards humanity, I would be very much grateful if you can help me with something that can enable me to start up a new life. The details of my processing during my tragedy period are enclosed in the letter. And the last letter is the one dated the 30th of June, 2014. And I apply that it is standard as Exhibit 130O.
All requests are granted, Counsel.
And you made all of these pleas to President Yahya Jammeh, and you got a phone call, from somebody saying, oh, he has something for you. So you went there, I'm sure, expecting something positive. But please tell us what happened.
We awindi di letter uji fo toragol konguli ma di wadda ton din ko don en toragol mo no yafu en toromo no alhala no wonda don ko don ala be ngura ma den sukabe ma be yaha l'école te dépense kadi ko kara han hebirda dum woni ko hebata ko dum wuruda e de ciogu dépense joni goddo kadi ar noddugol ma e noddudoma e téléphone kadi o jonnuma jikke joni den jikke ko honno dum do yaari gila o nodduma o wi ma wonda ma ida hebi meden hebam ma do dum ko hondum hikki dum don
woni dam mi nyande go subaka debbo goddo noddilam Banjulondin.
Well, I was there after all this. Then one morning a lady called me from Banjulondin.
Said manyo nyawal legi ni Banjulondin.
Then she told me, come immediately to Banjulondin. I asked her, who are you?
Are you Mr. Barry? Yes.
That's the time when it looked like that he snatched the telephone from the hand of the lady and asked me, "Are you Mr. Barry?" I said yes. And he said in a harsh voice, "Come right now to Banjulundi." What I was thinking was that as far as the accident took place around that area, and it was the Banjulunding police who took care of the case initially, I thought that they've brought something for me there which I should go and collect. So I went there with that expectation. Then I told my wife, "I am now going to Banjulunding."
Okay, Barry.
She said, "Okay, Barry." She told me, "Take some water and pray to Allah and make that water charity before you leave and go." I did the same thing. After taking out that water for charity, I decided to go. When I arrived at the place, I found a lot of people standing there. Some were in uniform, others were not in uniform. They took me into a room and they left me there alone, sitting down there.
Do you know where these people were from?
Definitely,
Definitely, I don't know any of these people.
And was this at the Banjulunding or Yundum police station?
Ko Banjulunding ko Yundum police station hebino.
Hanga police station goto woni Yundum o mo Banjulunding. Ko don Banjulunding police station by Yundum. Joni be nabilang o room dom milan jodi boyali officer be hewbe nati.
It was at the Banjulunding police station. There is another police station at Yundum, but it started at the Banjulunding police station, where they took me into this room. I was sitting there, down there, until a little bit later, some officers came inside.
Benati de landarira beni ha mi protocol be dido nati because protocol ben uniform mabbe sa yibe to anda be ko protocol be.
When these police officers came in there, a little bit later, 2 officers came in who were protocol officers. Because if you look at their uniform, you will understand that these people are protocol officers because their uniform is different from the uniform of the policemen.
Adoulie Barry, mini benam.
They called me and said, "Adoulie Barry?" Then I said, "Yes."
Yes, Anani.
And they told me, "Whatever we tell you, just say yes." I said,
Masati got don't CID benamo commander.
There was one CID officer there. I don't know his name. They just said to him, "Commander."
You don't open your mouth. I say single word.
And that was the time when this man told me, "Don't open your mouth here to say a single word."
Was he a police officer, this man?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he's a police officer because they call him commander.
Yeah. Uniform called civilian clothes or what?
He was not in uniform. He was wearing civilian clothes.
Yaltini kaidiji be landi la honno kison fudori honno yari ko way ko hon wadi mi windani president on letter this and this for be landi lam person ji hewdi be winda.
That's the time when they took out a lot of papers. Then they asked me about the accident, how it happened. I narrated everything to them again, and they were writing down as I was talking.
So, got protocol in your whatever calm down ta hulu.
Then one of the protocol officers said, "No, take him, let try and calm him down so that he will not be afraid." Then I asked them, "Where is my wife?" They asked me, "Where is my wife?" I told them, "She's at home."
In 2 days arakadi e benguma.
Then they told me, "Now you can go home. In 2 days' time, come here with your wife."
In 2 days,
2 days later, I returned back with my wife, but when we arrived, they took my wife and took her to another place. They asked her many questions in there, and I'm sure she was crying because when she came out, her eyes were red. They told us to go home.
Only the next day,
and they said I should return back the next day. That was the day when I saw the driver, Dauda Sane himself.
Addi a protocol go e be adido wonnobe ardanobe be minute not the officer be.
Then that day he came with one protocol plus 2 other officers who were military men.
Joni be ni wo Dauda Sane kun wadi hakkunde ma o Dauda Sane ni wo gonga alla ko min tampi o.
And in my presence they asked Dauda Sane, what happened between you and this man? And what Dauda Sane replied to them was, truly speaking truly to Allah, it was me who knocked his car.
Then they told
Dauda Sane to go out and stay outside.
Dauda Sane dari dom mi woni dom be negasi joni be windi kaydiji mi yaw mi ara Monday.
Then after that they wrote some papers and told me now it's okay, but you come back here on Monday. And it was on the 2nd day of the Ramadan. That day I was keeping fast.
And you were going up and down from your house to Banjunding police station. Did you know what this was all about, or did they tell you what was happening?
Joni hino wa ini nini joni da wada ya ara hakkunde ka sudu ma e Banjunding police station. Ndabe halan no ma ko hondu kambe woni mabbe ko hondu be faala.
Hari on satimi andal ko hondu be faala e kambe o hore mabbe fota on.
At that time, I didn't know anything that they want. I didn't even know what they were trying to work out. I didn't know anything about their intentions.
Did you think that perhaps they were trying to prosecute Dauda Sane, the driver?
Da emijo mo on sikkuno wondema Dauda Sane ko be faala ko woni pour nabugol mo suudu nyaawore ndabe so be nyaawom.
Dauda Sane ko be landi mo tun ko wilan ko wi ko yes ko min tampi odo ko don tun o hatti benni o yawka yaasi o yehi ton.
Well, in my presence, when they asked Dauda Sane, he said, yes, true to Allah, it was me who knocked this man and his car. Then that is the time they told him to go out and stand outside.
On Monday.
Well, when after living there with my wife, they told me to come back on Monday. I woke up in the morning again on that Monday and I told my wife, I am going back to that place again. Then my wife told me, Barry, I don't trust these people. I also told her, even myself, I don't trust them. I said, but anyway, let's leave everything with Allah. I will just go and see what's going to happen.
And why did you have this feeling of untrust? Why did you not trust them?
Starting ko commander oya winni wol asun to mi udutu hundu kan one duma mi wola ko do mi andi be ko goddum be miji.
It was when that commander's officer who was in Mufti, when he told me that let me not open my mouth and speak a single word. From that minute I didn't trust them and I knew that these people might be working on something else.
Joni benni o me yaru birka makade.
And they said we should go back to Brikama again.
Be wadilang e pajiro military be dido no jodi bawo goddo no jodi yeso police ko.
Well, that's the time they put me on board a Pajero. 2 soldiers sat behind me, one sat in front of me, and that's how we traveled to Brikama.
Mi hoti beni wo joni mi high court.
When we reached Brikama, that's the time they told me that I was going to stand trial. I was going to be taken to court.
I
asked them, is it me and Dauda Sane or me and who? They said it was you. You are going to court because you have accused the state. I said,
okay.
I said, okay.
And when did they tell you this? Where did they tell you this information?
police station.
It was when we reached Brikama, near the police station, when they told me that I have accused the state and I'm going to court. They are taking me to court.
At that point, did they present you with any written charges or any document?
Nda on watu non be jonno no kaydi ni andana ko windadi hollirgol wondema ko dum do be tumuma
be jippini lambe nabilan kander police station tom.
I was not given no paper. They just told me to alight from the vehicle. They helped me to calm down the vehicle and they took me into the police station.
Diti judande be wadi hore kaydiji be wadi by force stamp be majji about 8 papers.
They brought around 8 papers and they forcefully held my hand and pressed it on those papers to stamp my finger on them. After all that, they told me, now you are going to court.
And these documents that you were forced to thumbprint, did they tell you what it contained?
Di kaydiji di be forsuma pour ya tampu ndabe halano ko honɗum disawi ko honɗum woni windi majji
ko be nilam ko false information mi jonni the state ko ɗum waɗi ɓe naɓdelan court.
What they told me there was that I supplied false information, and this is why they are taking me to court.
Were you able to read what the documents contained? Are you literate?
Nda onon tigi hoore mon on wawano jangande hoore mon andon ko faamon ko honɗum winda nin kaydi.
Anyway, me waɗali read kaydiji ɗin dal because I cannot read.
Anyway, I didn't read those papers because I am somebody who is not literate. So this is why I was unable to read anything on those papers.
So when you were being forced to thumbprint those documents, you had no idea what they contained?
Awa hino wa ini gilando be force yon pour yon tampu din kaydiji on andano ko honɗum woni din kaydiji.
Ha mi andari ko honɗum woni fi din kaydiji ha ko ɓeni lam mi yahay court.
I didn't know anything that was written on those papers until after they forcefully made me thumbprint these documents. After all that, that's the time they told me that they are going to take me to court.
And what happened when they took you to court?
Yenda be hewti nga suudu nyaawirde ko honɗum waɗi.
Mi fokiti mi ari ka ɓawa moto mi ƴetti mobile on mi dial ɓe ngo mi nodde mo minimo ha ɓe naɓoɗelam Brikama court o wi honɗum.
After all this, I came out behind the vehicle. I took my mobile and I called my wife. I told her finally, these people has informed me that they are going to take me to court in Brikama.
And how did she react?
Bengu mo ngila na dudam mo ko honno kanko iri dum.
Adi pa ko ang jiunku yai ka school able yahi kapenta Omar kanka do yai ka school jonnon benga aci defu gongolo dugo ari Brikama.
At that time, my daughter had gone to school and the little one also had started going to school at the time. And my eldest son, as far as he was doing a carpentry job, he had already left to continue his carpentry job. My wife stopped cooking immediately, and she rose to the police station in Brikama to come and see me.
How did your wife feel after everything that you had been through? Sorry, Mr. Interpreter, can you just allow me to finish?
Go on.
How did she feel after all of your suffering, knowing what you went through, and you have already spoken about how she supported you through the entire ordeal? How did she feel that you were being prosecuted?
Joni ɓe ngumo ko honno kanko yiruno ɗum fof ko andama wonda on haali ɗo wondama ko kanko wonno neɗɗo mo andama kanko dogayno yaha ara bimbi e kikide jamma e ñaloroma dépension fof ko kanko fawino fof ko woni ɗo joni ko honno kanko yiruno ɗum gila o faami wondema joni ɓe tagi on tuumal ɓe faala on naɓude suudu ñawre pour ɓe ñawan kanko ko honno yiruno ɗum ko honno ɗum wayi e makko.
My wife, that day when she came, even the shoes she wore, because the way she left the home in fear, the shoes she wore were not the same. There were 2 different shoes she wore on her legs that day when she arrived at the place. She went to somebody called Alassane, and borrowed some money from Alassane to buy credit so that she will be calling me continuously.
Yoni wari o tawilan o hewti Brikama wanda ko honto mi tindini mo ha wada o tawilan ka courthouse.
She didn't know where I was because they had taken me immediately to the courthouse in Brikama. Then she was calling until she knew where the courthouse was. Then she came to the courthouse.
Jodi don seda boyali wobbe ari be protocol be iwri Banjul be ari e motoji mabbe.
I was sitting there for some time until a little bit later, some protocol officers came from Banjul with their vehicles. They also arrived on the scene.
Mr. Barry, can you tell us how you felt? I mean, your accident occurred in 2002.
Yeah, Mr. Barry, you joined that way halande imbe kono yiruda dum sabu accident ma on ko hitande 2002 du wadi. Yon an ko hono dum yiruda dum gila be nabuma sudu nyaawerde.
You did not receive any assistance from the driver who caused the accident, Dawda Sane, or the state?
Hebani ballal immorgal hay goto surtout Dawda Sane mo andandama wonno kanko wadum wadi o accident e ma so hebani ballal kadi immora sengo lamungu.
When you were taken to the Banjuling hospital, your wife had to pay for the ambulance that took you to RVTH.
Gilanda manapa noda accident on wadi bena uma Banjulunding kalobudan dong bengumo be ituno mudi be sodi isas pour wada ka ambulance.
You got to the RVTH, you had to pay for the blood that was used for your operation.
Gilanda ma hewduda kalobudan jano Banjulu on yobno mbudi kadi pour wa on sodu de jijam.
You had to pay for all the medical expenses, the drugs, as well as the treatment that you received at the RVTH.
On yobuno kadi dépense ko watte kon fo fi lekkeje den ko kanyuma operation ko wonno don ka lobidani jana don woni RVTH.
And this was during a time where you had lost your only source of income, your vehicle had been completely destroyed and you were evicted from your home.
Dum ko wattu hebino mo andama wondama on wasi moto mongon te be itti on kadi suudu ka hudu don kadi.
The driver of the vehicle was not prosecuted for any crime.
Driver wadudo dum ma o nanga ka sako nabe suudu nyaawirdu ko bade ko wadi kon.
Even though he admitted in your presence as well as in the presence of all the soldiers and police officers that he was the one that was at fault.
Do dum kay kanko tigi o jabi wondama ko kanko wadi de bade e ma de o jabi tawndema tigi wondama ko kanko wadi no dum te o hay dum o nyaawa ka e do dum kadi.
To add insult upon injury, you were here now being prosecuted.
Yoni ko dum woni misal wondama beeda yennore e dow musedi dum misal ko dum wadu be waduma do hibe nabima suudu nyaawrugol pour nyaawugol ma.
And this was after 13 years from 2002 to 2015.
Dum no hebi duubi sappo e tati ko dum woni 2002 ha 2015.
How did you feel about that?
Anko honno dum yiru honno dum wa'i e ma e gurdal ma.
Tay ko musendi e mettere bernde e mijagol aden yido aduna.
It caused hardship, unhappiness, suffering, and all type of vices on me.
Are you ready to proceed?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
It has been really hard for me.
By me not take a courthouse benyande.
The minute I went into that courthouse that day, I looked around. I cannot even cite the driver who caused all this trouble. It was only me, plus those people who were all standing there against me. Then I said to myself, oh my God, you are the leader of everything. These people are not the owners of this court. I said to Allah, look, whatever is good for me, please do that for me. That's the time I went inside the courthouse. When I went in, they called me to come and stand inside the box. There was one officer called Jiba who was having a file which he placed in front of the council, and they called me to come into the box.
Excuse me, Mr. Barry. Mr. Jiba, who was he?
Oh, Mr. Jiba, ko homdu wonno, kanko wonno hondu.
Monko prosecutor the courthouse on Brikama.
He was one of the prosecutors in the courthouse there at Brikama.
Were you being represented at the time by anybody?
Da onong on hebuno darantoro mo.
No, apart from the Almighty Allah.
Do you remember Mr. Jiba's first name?
Oh, Mr. Jiba, don't maniti in Demakonde.
And what police station he came from?
Teko police station homboka di ogolai no.
Onko Brikama police station no woni kono kanko hajoni mo Brikama courthouse.
He was at the Brikama police station, but up to now, he's still at the Brikama courthouse.
And you said he placed his file before the council. Which council are you referring to?
The
we are of file or yes or council onko council ombo no.
Andi lawyer be gono ara don waldo go imbe ko kuma kesiji ben councilor be jodi be don duma makko en magistrate on dal.
Well, I cannot call any names, but there was a time when some councillors used to come to the courthouse. They used to help people, but these were the councillors who came in, plus the magistrate who was at the courthouse by then.
Okay. You said that you were arraigned before the High Court. Do you know whether it's the High Court or the Magistrate Court?
We are bedarnima yoso nyawore. Ko High Court o wonno wala ko Magistrate Court o wonno?
Magistrate Court.
It was the Magistrate Court.
Do you remember the magistrate who was in charge of your case?
Awawa siftunar de hombo magistrate o wonno mo anduda ko on wonno magistrate on don nyawore.
Ko Nigerian jo kono mi anda inde makko.
He was a Nigerian, but I cannot call his name.
Tell us what happened.
Joni hala men ko hono nyawore nde yari.
Minatika box nderto.
When I went into the box,
bengo ari jodi yeso anne.
My wife came and sat in front of me.
And said, Magistrate William.
That's the time when the magistrate said to me,
Are you Adoulie Barry?
Are you Adoulie Barry?
Minimum, yes.
I said yes.
We were carried the Hondari de la Juni false information on the government. I don't know, Ngurubi Dal.
When he looked at those papers, he said to me, you have been accused of giving false information against the state.
Minimum, sir.
I said to him, sir.
Which type of false information?
I asked him, what type of false information is that?
Minimum, first of all, no one should be bail you.
First, he told me, first of all, nobody will bail you. Nobody should bail you.
Why?
I asked him why.
He said, no one should bail you. Remind.
That's the time when he told me that no one should bail you and you are going to remain.
mi imi mi dari hari kwangal amusi lan kono haydu mi andali mi ene mo magistrate woni la nam.
I stood up. At least my leg was so painful. It was paining me seriously. But I was even aware of that pain at the instant. I said to him, Mr. Magistrate, he said yes.
Ine mo be yimbe dari be yasoma be jodi be do fop is a fake document be jogi.
I told him, all these people standing here in front of you, they all have fake papers with them.
What do you mean?
He asked me, what do you mean by that?
Minimum, I have one document only. If I show to you, maybe you do something.
I told him that I have only one document. If you want, I can show it to you. Maybe if you read and understand it, you will do something else.
We court right.
He got up and stood and said, "Oh, we hold him.
Court rise.
Court rise." He said, "Let the court rise." He called me into his office.
Yaltini, my medical report.
I took out my medical report.
This document of Abadu Conte and Ombudsman and Human Rights.
I took out all the documents which I collected from Badu Conte and the Human Rights Office.
Hold them up.
I showed them to him.
I
placed them on the table. He started looking at these documents. When he was ready, I packed all these documents and returned them into my bag.
False document.
I told him all the documents that these people brought and the ones they have are all false documents. I told him, if you take me to remind,
you will regret it.
You will regret it.
Have nothing.
I have nothing.
Have my suma
apart from my creator.
We okay.
He said okay.
He
went out.
Courthouse.
And went into the courthouse. He got up and again we all sat down.
Mr. Barry is granted bail.
Then he said, Mr. Barry has been granted bail. And all those officers standing there, they started looking at one another. That's the time when Jiba, the policeman, asked the magistrate, wow, how did this come about? Then the magistrate said no.
Next adjournment
and the magistrate told him that the next adjournment day you will know what has transpired here.
And Mr. Barry, before we move on to the next adjournment day, you have supplied us with the charges before the Birkama Magistrates Court, and it is titled Inspector General of Police versus Adoulie Barry, and dated.
Mr. Barry, do en yahude ton ajonni men do kaydi ndin ko dum andama wondema ko ndin kaydi be tegunoma tumangal keson ko hakkundema e yesojo police agent du wete Inspector General of Police versus Adoulie Barry.
Mr. Barry, you look like you're in pain. Would you like us to take a break now?
Sorry.
Because I wanted us just to finish because we don't have much to go,
even
though it's after the lunch break. Should we just continue?
Yeah.
Continue.
Thank you. The charge sheet is dated the 22nd day of October 2015, and it is signed by the prosecuting officer for the IGP.
Tumangal kaydi nden ko lewru october balde mum nogas e didi 2015 te signu don dinon ko mo signide do inde Inspector General of Police on.
And Mr. Chairman, before I would like to read something from it, but before that I would just like to tender it first into evidence as Exhibit 130. Exhibit 130P. Mr. Barry, I would just like to read.
Before I grant that request, can you repeat that again? You say 1303?
P.
Oh, P.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
My apologies. The request granted.
P for Peter.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barry, I will just read out the statement of offense and the particulars of offense. You were charged with 2 counts of offenses.
Mr. Barry, joni o faala ma jangande tumangal ko be tuma ko woni tumi didi be tumuma.
The first count was giving false information to a public officer contrary to Section 114 of the Criminal Code, Cap 10, 01, Volume 3, Revised Edition 2009, Laws of the Gambia.
Tumal folongal be jonnu mangal ko woni jonnugol kibar mo andana neddo mo andana wana kibar hebido te dum don luwa leydi nin e jabani dum.
The particulars of offense stated that Adoulie Barry, for that you did in the year 2012 at Banjul.
Oy affaire no yar non ko dum woni an Adoulie Barry wadi dum hitande de be 2012 sara witende Banjul.
And diverse places in the Republic of the Gambia, you wrote a petition letter to the office of the President of the Republic of the Gambia.
Dum no hebi Banjul e der tare ko Banjul e der leydi Gambia do.
Alleging that your vehicle registration number BJL 4459B had an accident with a state guard vehicle.
Wida wondema motoma on BJL 4499B o hebi accident kanyum may motor state house.
Registered number BJL 2437A.
Kanyum may motoma hawron ko dum 2437A kong moto hawrondiri.
And you sustained serious injuries which information you knew or believed to be false and not true, and therefore you committed an offense.
Gila dum wadi o accident wadi an e horama Adoulie Barry a hebuno e gagnande musude e bandu madon te dum ko a haali di haala konguli di haaldaado ko konguli di andana ma wona konguli hebidi wona konguli daridi wona gonga e do dum a bonni loi on.
Count 2 of the statement of offense reads, attempt to commit felony contrary to Section 365 of the Criminal Code, Cap 1001, Volume 3, Revised Laws of the Gambia 2009.
Umal dimmangal ko dum woni e hebi anni on pour wadugol ko boni ko andanda ma wonde dum gadi loi leydi ni jabani dum non e ko dum tumada.
Particulars of offense of that particular statement of offense states, Adoulie Barry, for that you did in the year 2012 at Banjul and diverse places in the Republic of the Gambia.
Tumal dimmangal ko woni on Adoulie Barry hitande ne be wera 2012 e nder sare Banjul.
You unlawfully attempted to extort money from the President of the Republic of the Gambia.
Yin an Adoulie Barry ay do annema hebi anniyam pour jabugol mbudi e jungo e lando wonoro do on woni Yaya Jammeh
through one Dawda Sane
imora waji goto wiete do Dawda Sane
as compensation for the injuries you sustained from an accident.
Wonanama bubbinugol bernde imora Dawda Sane ko andanama wondama wida ko tampere ko hebuda ko e on accident.
Allegedly involving a state guard vehicle, thereby you committed an offense.
Wida dum no hebuno accident mo andana ma wonda no hawrondire hak moto ma on kanyum may moto state guard woni moto mo andana himo immori ka galle men lamorde to e dow dum konguli di andana wana konguli di daride wana konguli ji gonga e dow dum abonni loi.
These were the offenses that you were charged with before the Birkama Magistrates Court in 2015.
Ko di woni 15?
Yes.
O ko di woni tume de andana ko di tume be tagi e hoore ma ko de tume tagadi be nabi nabiruma suudu ñaawir woni Birkama Magistrates Court suudu ñaawir wondu Birkama dum hitande de weta 2015.
And despite the fact that Officer Dambale, who was the officer in charge of the case, knew an accident occurred and had investigated it.
O e do dum ñaawña officer Dambele du woni police ajo wiete do Dambele mo andi case on no yaare non te o lijjintini case on.
You had submitted a medical report to the police which they had misplaced subsequently, but you have admitted here in evidence.
Kono a jonnuno to police ben medical report du woni ka lobitan do kaydi ndi be jonnuna ka lobitan do te a jonno police ben be yimandi majji te kono a jabi dum ka jodida do ka commission do yeso do.
Dawda Sane had also admitted responsibility for the accident.
Te Dawda Sane kanko tigi e tawndama o jabi wondama dongal accident ko kanko yani ko kanko toñuma e accident on o jabi dum e tawndama.
Despite all of that, you are now being charged for giving false information to the president that this particular accident occurred.
E do dum don fop ko haala ko andandama no laabi ko seede yagal laabungal e hoorema e fi accident non kono e dow ɗum ñawña ɓe ƴetti tugal e teguma ɓe tegi tumal e hoore ma ɓe ƴettima ɓe ɗaɓuma ko suudu ñawirdu ñawugol ma wigol wondema a jonni kibar ɗum woni lanɗo leydi on kibar mo andanɗa wona kibar heeɓiɗo ko tappaleyagal.
Can you tell us how you felt about that?
joni nda hiɗa wawi haalande yimɓe e ma gila ɗum fo fawi e hoore ma ko honno an yiruɗa ɗum e hoore ma.
Dari mi tawi andi sibi goɗɗo no mari dole ala dole.
I looked at the affairs as somebody. I am somebody who is powerless, and these people had powers, all the sort of powers they need. They just wanted to do anything with me. But with the help of Allah, I was able to retain some papers with me, which I was able to show for my defense.
Allah wadi majesty tong wadi o jabi dum wadi lang guarantee bail.
Well, these are the papers I showed the magistrate. After he read these papers, he granted me bail.
Allah wadi bay mi bengang goddo wadi lam bail mi yalti.
And with the help of my wife and somebody else, they bailed me and I came out.
Mi dogi mi yai mi tay Mr. Badu.
That's the time when I ran back to Mr. Badu. I explained everything to him again.
Is that Badu Conte?
Badu Conte.
Yes.
And
that's the time he said, "Hey, Barry, this is what they've done to you."
Don't worry.
He told me, "Don't worry, I will stand for you."
You need to pass me direct office of ombudsman kade.
He gave me fare to go home, but from there I went direct to the office of the ombudsman.
You told me Ali Senegambia ti Human Rights Center si Anna Foster kono mi tawal ma mi tawi secretary makom.
From there, from the ombudsman's office, I came direct to the office of the human rights. I came to the office of the human rights. Then I didn't find Hannah Foster there that day, but I found her secretary in the office.
Okay, ohala naimo.
She said, okay, she will pass the information to Madam Foster.
You were following next adjournment by men Ari.
And I went home to wait for the next adjournment day, which day I went back again.
The protocol being about there 17 or 18 of them that
when I arrived there were about 17 of them, protocol officers plus the other people who came for the case. When they saw my people behind me, then this was some sort of a shock to them.
In America court got long view, oh, I'm not well doing what adjourn case on Kadi.
And that day, well, they said, okay, we will adjourn the case again till another day.
May next adjournment Kadi.
We went home and came back on the next adjournment date.
Can we go back before we get to the next adjournment date? Why were they shocked when they saw your people behind you, and who are you referring to by your people?
Si awi wondema gila yahudon ɓe yi yimɓe ma ɓe mbawma ɗum mettuno ɓe ɓernde ha ko homɓe won ɓe yimɓe ma ɓe wonɗa yide fimu.
Badu Conte.
They saw Badu Conte
together with assistant Mako Akim.
They saw him with his assistant called Akim.
Office of Ombudsman.
And somebody came also from the office of the ombudsman. And somebody also came from the office of the human rights. So when they saw these people all behind me, this is what shocked them.
Why was this shocking to them?
They didn't think that I will be able to gather such people from such offices to come for my defense.
Please go ahead.
Well, the next adjournment date, when we came and the case was called and we started, Badu sat down, he was writing what was being said with the other Nigerian.
goɗɗo maɓɓe kadi wi boss maɓɓe arali ɓe waɗo adjournment case on kadi.
Somebody said that, well, as far as their boss has not come to the court, they will adjourn it again till another day.
Around 17 to 18 people, ɓe acci argol ha heddi about almost 4 people.
Well, when this case started, 17 to 18 people were coming. But towards the end of the case, only 4 people were appearing for the case. Badu told me that, Bari, don't worry. I will leave my assistant, the Nigerian, to always sit by you.
When it don't have second to last adjournment on
well, we were there until the last, second to the last adjournment day. Formally, 4 people were coming, but that day only 2 people appeared for the prosecution. Then among these 2 people who came, one of them was a protocol officer who called me and told me, Barry, come and let's see.
Johnny achi o walla lan goddum o jonala ma wana sola moto mi gita fi o case
o wada hodum
wi o jonala lan goddum haysi ko mi sodu moto ngo kunni mi wigita fi case din o wila on hala.
That protocol officer told me, now I want you to forget about this case. I'll give you something so that you can buy a small car, then you will forget about this whole case. I told him, go and tell Badu Conte.
So, Mr. Barry, after they realized that you were not so powerless and helpless as they thought you were, they tried to negotiate with you.
Joni ino wa ini gila be kambe kadi tigi be faami e hoore mabbe kambe tigi wondama be yi wondama an wana an kadi wana neddo mo andama wondama ala wana neddo mo ala dole te hida jogi kadi gonga on be feoji pour joni be yewtida e ma pour ndaron ko honno wallinirton affaire on.
Yeah, by ono dilan
yes. That's why I'm sure they called me to negotiate with me.
When he
called and told me that they will give me something so that I can buy a small car, I told him, no, go and tell Badu Conte. Then that's the time when he went to hit the other person, the other protocol officer that he came with, and said to him in Mandinka, this man doesn't want anything. Then I got up and went to Akim, and I told Akim, as far as the case has been adjourned, let's go home. I went to Badu Conte in his office. I explained to Badu that one of these protocol officers called me and told me that they will give me something to buy a small car so that I can forget this case. But I told him to come and see you.
Badu Conte ni ajara mabari ko dun wenta netto si goddo wallete anda horema sa jabuno dun don harana bonnino fi horema hande.
Badu Conte told me, thank you very much. This is how a responsible person should act. If you had agreed to that proposal, you would have spoiled everything for yourself. That's how things were going on, adjournment after adjournment, until when the election, when we reached time for the election. I was going up and down until time for elections. And it happened that now they have disappeared and I'm still around.
Who has disappeared?
Jame's people who were coming to the courthouse, none of them appeared at the end. They all disappeared and I'm still around.
Joni last amount Baji to the Jiba Onodil and Brikama.
The last day, the last adjournment day, Baji, the man Baji called Baji, called me. Jiba called me. As far as they have all gone away, Jame's people.
Jiba Nodil and Brikama.
Jiba called me in Brikama.
Wilam Mr. Barry Johnny case alako mi joka hande kadi aru sana o kaidi jido the case is finished.
Then Jiba told me to come to Brikama. There is no case against you now, but you have to come and sign these papers in Brikama.
So, Mr. Barry, the state did not bring a case against you. This case was brought by Yaya Jammeh personally. So when he was no longer around, it just died.
Johnny, ini Mr. Barry case alamu andandama wandama hino fawi e horema sengo imori sengo lamu case mo fayi on horema ko duwoni ko sengo Yaya Jammeh imori gilandema Yaya Jammeh alano do joni o yehi tan ke duwoni case o mai o itti o itama e horema awa.
Is that your position?
Ndako dum wiida.
Yeah, Johnny Jiba o wi mi sayno kaydi jang mi nema wonto ID card bengwang e ID card beldo lan on o dabbi to Johnny Telang.
Well, when Jiba told me this, I said, okay, where is my wife's ID card and the person who bailed me? Where is that ID card also? That's the time when Jiba brought out this ID card and gave it to me.
You know, This
is the time he gave me these papers in his office, and I signed them and I went home.
What date was this?
I cannot remember all this.
But it was after the change of government.
Yes, this was after the change of government.
So you were basically saved by the change of government.
Yes, that's how things went, and it was the time when I started breathing normally, and I can eat normally now, and I am free.
So this was a sigh of relief.
Yes, this is what happened. I can only say that thanks to Allah. It was with Allah's help that I was able to come out of this case. All what happened to me from when I had this problem up to the time I went to court, I was in a problem. But now, thanks to Allah, everything has now passed.
And after all your long years of suffering, how do you feel now today, being able to tell your story before the commission?
Joni hino wa ini de di dubi yawdu no di dum fo tampere ko tampuda ko ngo yaha ara on habe na umasuru nyaawore ha hande ka wondan do hida jodi yeso commission on ko honno yiruda e ho yenno yiruda horema.
What I am going to say to the commission, yesterday I cried here. What made me cry was not because of my powerlessness, but is because of the justice and the truth that we are seeking to establish really went into me. That's what made me cry yesterday. And today also I cried. Because you people showed me where is the truth. That's what made me cry. What I am going to tell the commission. May Allah add your powers and take everything forward. May Allah help you to continue on the path of the truth so that you can establish any truth, all the truth that you are seeking. May Allah protect all of you. With all your families, all the commissioners and the legal team, may Allah protect all of you with your families. I am extending my sincerest thanks to all of you. May Allah reward all of you also whatever you want for yourselves.
Amen, and thank you, Mr. Barry. We are happy that you feel vindicated.
Ajarama men kadi me weltike ankari me weltike holli do wondama ankari bernama firtike joni ko habbino ko ema.
And that we have created a platform that you could come and tell your story.
men uditiri o dambugal ngal andandama wondema a ari ɗo a jooɗi ke yeeso amen e yeeso aduna on fof a haali caɗele ko hippino kon e hoorema.
And the whole world now knows that you were the truthful one, that you were on the path of truth, and that the state was basically the one who was lying all along.
Nini ka wonɗo aduna on fof andi wondema ko a wonno e gonga on e laamu ngu wonno e fenande nden laaɓi aduna on fof joni ka wonɗo.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, that is all for the witness, but we just want to tender 2 documents before we end it. And that is a medical report that is dated the 13th day of December, 2004. And we would like to tender that as Exhibit 130Q. There's another there's another witness statement as well, obtained from the witness, Adoulie Barry, by the police. And would like to tender that as Exhibit 130R. Thank you.
Counsel, request granted. But if I can take you back to the statement of charges that you read out, was that submitted as an exhibit? If not, or if it is, can you just give me the date of the statement of charges? And a related question to that for you is the closure in the magistrate court concerning the case there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It has been exhibited as 130P, and it's dated the 22nd day of October, 2015. We will send a copy of the charge sheet to you so you can have a look. In relation to closure, it looks like the case died a natural death, as far as the witness has said.
Thank you. And remark that Jammeh brought the case in his personal capacity. The charge statement doesn't say that, does it?
Yes, I believe that was my own spin on it, Chairman. But what I wanted to say was that Jammeh was using the state, perhaps to persecute the witness. Because in essence, in theory, it was the state against him. But then, in fact, or in practicality, it was Jammeh against the state, because after he left, nothing happened, and it died.
Many thanks for that clarification. Thank you very much. Your request for the exhibit numbers given them, 130P, that's granted.
Thank you very much. I will now hand over the witness to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barry, your resilience is extraordinary. How 13 months or 13 years of saga, that things that you had gone through, is remarkable. I'm sorry that you had to endure so much for it to come to this kind of a conclusion. But anyway, commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate.
Mr. Barry, munyangal ma ko munyuɗa kon natimen gonga men ji'i ko wawɗa kon, men ji'i ko muñaɗa kon, ɗum fof men ji'i. An ka neɗɗo mo anduɗa a wawi muñal, kono ha joni meɗen wiyama accu hakke ko leydi ko laamu ngu fawama kala ko tampere mo yiɗa, kono e dow ɗum fof Allah wallima ha joni o lootima ha a laaɓima joni, ha joni meɗen wiyama mas e tampere ma nde.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kinte, you have the floor, please.
Jarama tigi ko Commissioner Kinte falama lamdude joni.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Barry.
Oui, assalamu alaikum, Mr. Barry.
Alaikum salam.
Be hakke dani la banko to yala jarabol men kela.
Oui, mboni nyagama inde leydi ndi. Tampere mo anduɗa ko ɗum e caɗele goɗɗe ɗen mo anduɗa no fawa e dowma.
Ani accident men soto ay mantoro mella e kan ani la dimbal.
Tampere ko nattuɗa on gila heɓɗa o accident ay ɓe ngure ma.
Beñim manta be on tala fanan ke jayi la bambangola ani la dankene ala sabatola ñin sanji tanin sabo be kono.
We are still telling you thank you for your resilience and what you were able to bear within all these 13 years after the accident took place.
men bente bulu kumoto wala munyindi ko ñun ko ye tumi ni mon sakundale be ñola
wi kanko ko jogi gon e ko faala ko haalde be wi wondema ko tuumal ko be tiki e hoore ma be wi wonna ko angel laamu ngu wonno e ñaawde
molu ka fali man sakunda kono le bar man sakunda o be jere doron ko gambia be jere doron ñame ani gambia dingol
people change in the government, but the government is always here. But it is the people who come and go. But the government is and the country is always here.
We go la musanso do kono yimbe ben sanso do kono la musanso ta ko yimbe ben sanso do ya ara kono lamu hare ko lamu woto ko lamu tan lamu goto ngun dari don ko yimbe ben sanso do ya ara
andom bring mansakunda dabula je ya bondi dauda sane bulu ya ketati.
When the government intervened and took the case from Dauda Sane and they made it a government case against you.
We ganda lamu ngun jetti case on e jungo Dauda Sane be wadi be jogingu kamete be hije be jetti case on be wadi hore be case mabbe.
Ni nata murne ka fo ko be case withdraw la ninte munu ni la loyalu albe balanda la ni man say tenteng ye man say jo nya sahari ngola malete o je nyaadi la.
If it was me, when they said they were going to withdraw the case, I would have insisted and refused and said no, so that when it goes like that, they will compensate you something which will be very good for you. That's what I would have done if it was me.
We kanko dal no yiri affaire on siku tawno ko kanko wonno e case on be ari e makko be yi wonda ma joni men fala yaltinde case on du woni men fala itude case on o wi'e be ala continue nge nyaawere nden si me yi hambe alibibe be fotuma yobude kalisi ko andana ko timmi ko andana bubbinte bernde ko non fotno yaade kanko dal o wi kanko ko non o yiri affaire o anda anko hono yiruda dum
yo baraka
ajaram.
Thank you. If there are no further Deputy Chair, you have the floor, please.
Jokkudo chairman o fala malamdude.
Thank you very much, witness.
I
want to know, how old are your children?
Yo fala andude sukabe maben ko honno be tolni ko jubi maben ko honno tolnori.
Jamono on site ko mebuno accident on hari Adoulie ko mo dubi jego.
Well, at the time of the accident, Adoulie ko on woni biddo mawdo ma on. My first child was 5 to 6 to 7 years. The second child, the female daughter, my female daughter.
Anga Adoulie for 94 jibina.
Adoulie was born in 1994.
Aratu 97.
Hombo?
On 97.
My daughter was born in 1997.
Yeah, jibina year 2000.
And the last one was born in the year 2000. They were the 3 children I got initially, but I had an extra 2 children after them.
The
small ones, tokosobe ben ko dubi jelu hebe.
Oya mo dubi jena oya no dubi sapo didi.
The elder one is 12 years and the younger one is 9 years.
Now, the other question is in relation to the apprentice and the passengers who were coming off the car. Do you know what happened to them?
Landa ko limmongol ko woni apprenti ma kanyum e client be ma wonno be ngade modo be nda anduno ko hondum kadi honno be don fiima be sakkitori.
Client ja on dom dal mi taade on don hande kadi on debbo kono apprenti yon on mo yeya buyi syndicat ka marsega.
Well, about the lady who got injured, and I didn't see her again from that day. But my apprentice is around. He is now a trader at the Sandika market.
Thank you very much.
Ajara.
Thank you. Imam Jallo, you have the floor, please.
Imam Jallo, Commissioner Imam Jallo, kadi won mo arre landa ko.
Mr. Barry. Mr. Barry.
Mi fala malanda de pular.
I want to ask you in Fula.
Andi aya jokki nyawore den en gorgu mada ha Allah okkima gonga.
You followed this case from the beginning, the trial, up to the end of it. You followed it as a man.
Allah walima be accitima e kala kan.
Allah helped you up to the end and they left everything with you. I want to know.
Arutino ka badu konte halna mo fika hala ka kanko o kanima hakkille goddo e fika hala.
Did you go back to Badu Conte to explain the matter to him so that he can give you another idea, or how did it end? Didn't you go to him again?
Argolanga kako kis
Hani owi gila halaka gila bedo acci halaka e jungoma aruttuno ka Badu Conte hala nimo no be acciri nyawongol e jungoma walla
ya Badu Conte mo tawa non de nyande mi iwi to mi detti ID card nyande maron haka Badu Conte mi halani ambuso mi halani be abe fo mabbe wonde mate ko ni yare.
Yes, Badu Conte in fact was at the courthouse that day when everything was ended. In fact, the day they gave me my wife's ID card, and the guy who bailed me, they gave me his ID card too. I came back with Badu Conte to his office, I narrated everything to him, and I went to the Human Rights Office to inform them how the case ended, and I went to the Ombudsman too to inform them how the case ended.
Because kondenyande Badu Conte konkadi o detti file mo won la windande on no question yari fo joni la wi maro wasi alla no andine mo dum do aray.
Well, it was that day that Badu Conte wrote everything and ended everything. He wrote everything in a file. He put all these documents in a file and gave it to me and told me to keep this file. Maybe one day you will be able to need these documents in this file.
Okay.
That's the file and the documents I brought here, which I passed to the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. May Allah reward you.
Thank you. There are no further questions. Mr. Barry, if you have any final remarks to make, please proceed to do so now.
Joni Mr. Barry kawondo commission na hay gor ala landegel ko be landoto ma joni kawondo hala kan rutinama e ma sida mari ankade ko jogoto da jogida ko hala na libi be dedinding da way fuddade hala udda hala makam
ndo pendo andi gonga si alla imani kama wallo goma ko lawol labungol hollete.
Well, as things happen, if Allah is ready to help you, Allah will always guide you and put you on the right track.
Allah addi o commissioner ha mi hewti do mi hetti hande gonga.
It was Allah which brought about this commission, which brought me here to come and sit in front of this commission and narrate my story.
Hande Allah komi wiya kon wadi wide commission on jarama yalla yob on ko moji.
Well, I have nothing else to tell the commission apart from saying to you, thank you very, very much. May Allah reward you all what you wish for yourselves. At this present moment, my children are still small and there is nothing that they can do for themselves and for me and the family. But Allah helped me. I have attained the age of 63 years. Well, what I will say at this stage is that, well, I have nothing else to say. Now I have reached the age which now I can say I'm just waiting for Allah's decision, whatever He wants to do with me.
Because komi gollaino komi wonno suka komi walaino try fop ko fino mi hibira foundation mi walira pa ko anko sibe mawne heba ko be jogo kono oyi no yari joni komi jogino kon yahi temporary bawan.
All what I was hustling and trying and struggling was to build a foundation for my children, to be able to do something for my family. When they grow up, they will have somewhere to lean on, they will have something to go by. This is what I was struggling to attain for my family. But everything has been shattered. My life has been shattered, and now I was unable to do anything for my family up to this very point. Now, there is nothing I can do for them except what Allah has created or what Allah has ordained for me and my family. Apart from that, there is nothing else I can do.
Joni fayda kolom mi hattata commission on ni la jarna be ha joni kolom mi wawani be yeru ko Allah ñaawi arta horan hande kadi o yo ardu e jam yeru pay ko anko no mi ibaranobe fi aduna mabbe hande kadi ko goddo no jonni la moto hay dogi ngo fayna fen do mi fiƴƴi dum kono so lan dogina ko fi no mi hebira dépense lan e suudu luwas ha joni.
Yes, at this point I hebi moto joni.
Yes.
Yes, at this point, all what I am doing is somebody took pity on me and gave me a vehicle which I am driving, because I have not wholly recovered. But as far as I have a family, and some of them are still small, I cannot sit down like that. This is why I'm still driving, trying to get something for my family, trying to give, to earn a living for myself and my family. Thanks to Allah, as far as I am in this condition and I'm trying to earn a living for that family, I will continue as Allah has decided for me. So still, what I can say is thanks to Allah and this commission. Thank you very much. May Allah reward all of you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Barry. Your great intentions for your own future and the future of your family had been hijacked by the state.
Ajara matigi bari. Imuno pro etana bengurema besnguma fof. Afudino etade mo anduda. Afala wadande yimbe maben e family ma ko mojjani be. Wiida afala dumen darinde foundation. Kono dum fo yakama kono ha joni e meden wiyama a jarama ka neddo mo anduda ado tiidi te non haysi wona tampere fawdo e dowma ka neddo mo anduda ado hebi miijo mojjo ado hebi anniya mojjo ten e dow dum fow ado eto ha joni pour walla yimbe maben e dow dum meden wiyama a jarama ankala a etima a hebi darde mo anduda ka o halliminen ka neddo mojjo.
It's amazing that you haven't given up, and you don't look like you're going to give up. You're still a young man. There's a great future ahead of you.
Jara matigi, men yirima ni ka neddo manduda aparani accude ko waday no da kon afala kontinde purado eta pour yimbe maben ado eta pour horema e bengurema e besnguma e dum fof men jii dum tenon meden andi aparani accude ko wawda wadde kon so e do dum non meden wiyama ha joni eto ko Allah addata jango ko Allah rek andi dum eto ha joni menen kala meden jarama.
Thank you very much indeed to come and testify before the commission on accounts that are very difficult to even think about, let alone narrate it to the whole world.
Jarama tigi ajabi pour arado halana commission o tamperema caɗele mo anduɗa a nattiye ɗin caɗele ha Allah waɗi Allah wallima a yaltiye ɗin caɗele ha hande ni aɗo dari aɗo eto e dow ɗum noon meɗen wiyama a jarama tigi an kala e meɗen duwanoma an kala yo Allah walle kala ko falɗa kon yo Allah webin ɗum e jungo ma.
Thank you very much indeed. We will end our morning proceedings this afternoon, and then we'll resume at 3:30. That is okay. Thank you, Mr. Barry. Meeting is adjourned.
dañoo ñëw ak yéen rek skincare plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5 star jesna la 5 star jesna mooy jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee buñ demee Bamako ñun duñ dem ci marché bi rek buub indi déedéet dañ leen a jox suñu specs ne leen nii lañ ko buggee nay lañ ko buggee fóot bi nangami fóot lañ bugga pour mu mun a set waaw cuubi skincare déedéet doo ko sol mu di la taxa all over the place ci gàttal ñun rek si cuub dara du doy day des not only dañoo cuub but bu la neexee ñu cuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la ñaw fi mu gën a setee nag rek la ñoo fulee ñetti ñawkat lañ am nañ ñawkati simple nga xam ne xoppati rek mbaa def sa taille basse def sa dagit def sa roba amul benn dawme am nañ koo xam ne moo ñoo dawme jigéen den am nañ tamit special ñawkat boo xam ne ñawi góor rek la ñoo defal nga bugg sa his and hers muy korité muy tabaski mbaa muy ngénte muy takka mbaa nga bugg rek def sa yëkka bu baax a baax daagul ba ñëw skincare plus ñu dimbali la tànnal la cuub fam gën a baaxee ndax sa yëkka gën a foor lii nga ne lan xoolal bi takka la skincare fii la fu léegi yéen tey we're not all about skin we are skin care and the plus does come in so many different ways. Cubantu wuñ de dañ cub bam saf-saf
Miss V Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Preacher Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
Do you live abroad and want to build your dream home in the Gambia without risking your funds and family ties? Do you want a household name that is trustworthy and efficient? A name that will continue to give you updates on the project from the beginning to the very end with videos and pictures? If your answer is yes, then worry no more. Boss Construction and Asset Management is here for you. If you live outside the Gambia and want to build your dream home, then this is ideal for you. Just reach out to Boss Construction and let's start building the dream home into a reality. With Boss Construction, the difference is clear. We give you value for money. Some of our services includes the following: construction management, building equipment rentals, rent management, purchase and leasing, asset management, and many more. For more information, please contact 282-4945. Better still, send us an email, bossgambia@gmail.com, or you can also visit our website on www.bossgambia.com. Boss Construction, a name you can trust. Boss Construction and Asset Management, keeping families together.
No, ini bara.
Welcome. Basically, lot of lala me along is cool, man. That I can really relax. What the madam? Yeah, what the madam? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Grand Villa. That's fine. Slowly. Yes. No. Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically me alone because they relax. So it's basically that I can understand.
Nina Fanise what? Nidia, Nena Granville is the best guest house in the Gambia.
Beji and the Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungul bebe senyaring adum na bungul bebe nyarandiring coming ibela fila ila suwe taranyame until Grand Villa na kiliano la lafino wale mukawati intel kang na ye sabati Grand Villa yela kodo na fa kalamuta.
Oh man, this is like a paradise.
I know.
I so much love this place.
Yes, thank you.
Trust me, I love this place.
You can move somebody and you're watching what?
Yeah.
I've been young and know what you can be on. Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. Okay.
Yes.
I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
Ni leftan na kuo keso sotola. Futama Oljuntum Paradise Estate. Mbaya kumandiroke 7527-218. Wale futana website auto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.